So hey guys, Alfredo here from Destination Fluency. Today we posted in our Instagram account a story encouraging people to ask questions about learning the language, about fluency, and about effective techniques that can help you in your learning process. And then we've received a few requests. I've got them right here with me, and I would like to go over them and answer them as quickly as possible. Okay, so I would like to start by going over these first two responses that we received. I always get confused about the use of have been. Okay, so let's explore that. Let's just start with these two. Make sure you're comfortable with them. Number one is the easiest one. It's about when we talk about situations which started in the past but are not over yet. For example, let's suppose you're married. So you got married 3 years ago and you're married today. So your life together with your husband it started in the past 3 years ago, but you're still together. So your marriage is not over. So how do you communicate that idea? With present perfect with the verb to be like this. I have been married for 3 years. Okay? And then if you really understand this example, you can extend the use to other things. For instance, you can talk about your profession. Suppose you're a teacher like me. Oh, I've been a teacher for more than 20 years. Or suppose you're a lawyer. Oh, I've been a lawyer for 10 years. Now, the second one is very useful because we see this used a lot because when people talk about places that they've been to, in other words, place that they visited, they use the verb, the present perfect form of the verb to be. And then you have examples like this. Suppose that I would like to talk about my experience going to New York. And I could say, well, I've been to New York 5 times. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I traveled there and I came back to Brazil 5 times. So that's another use for this particular structure. Okay? So let's move on to the second one. The second one is here. I never know when to use has or had. Okay, so here we go. So what should you know about this? Well, you should know that the verb to have has got it's got 2 forms in present simple. And the 2 forms are has and have. So has is what we call the third person pronoun form. So for these pronouns, we should use this form of the verb. So for instance, I could say that my sister, she has a cat, and my brother, he has a dog, and I have a snake. These are the kind of pets that we have, and basically that's it. Okay, and the other question. Okay, what about had? Well, had is the past form of the verb to have, had. So remember that I said that my sister has a cat. Well, I don't have a cat anymore, but I could say that I had a cat when I was a little boy. And basically, that's it. Present and past. Don't forget that this is the form of the verb to have for the third person pronouns. Okay, what about this? Can you give me a tip of a series that is easy to understand? Yes, on Netflix, there's a new series now called Emily in Paris. My advice to you is this. I don't know what your listening skill is like. So if your listening skill is not very good and you want to enjoy the series, you can even start watching it with the audio in English and the subtitles in Portuguese. But once you finish the first season, my advice is go back and watch it again, this time with the subtitles in English. And repeat it to yourself as many times as you can. So it's a great series. It's funny. It's very modern. It's very, it's fun to watch. It's very interesting. It's a very intelligent script. It's a very interesting and intelligent story and fun to watch. So I recommend this. Okay, about the other person. I feel embarrassed. I feel ashamed when I have to speak. I feel embarrassed when I have to speak. I'm not very confident when I have to speak. Well, this is a tricky thing because all I can tell you is that you should try to overcome this and remember that the reality is nobody cares. Nobody cares about the way we speak, if we speak very well or not. And the way to learn is by speaking. So you have to make an effort. One piece of advice that I would give you, okay, going back. So let's work with very simple examples here. So let's go back to this thing that I was explaining earlier on. Okay, let me go back to this thing here. 1 second. Okay, so imagine a situation like that. Okay, suppose you understand my explanation here. Okay, and then, well, you are afraid of speaking. You feel embarrassed when you have to speak. My suggestion is this: get your smartphone, turn the camera on, put in front of you, and start speaking to the camera. Even repeating simple things like this. Okay, Alfredo said, oh, I've been married for 3 years. Well, actually, I have been married for 12 years. I've been married for 18 years. Well, contextualize the scene. Adapt the sentence to your reality and repeat. And do this as many times as you can. Suppose you've never been to New York. Suppose you've never been outside Brazil, but you've been to Paraguay. So you can say, well, I've been to Paraguay 3 times. Or something like that, okay? Or let's suppose you've never been outside Brazil at all, but you've been to cities in Brazil. So I've been to Curitiba 3 times, okay? So do the same thing for this other node here, Pick up these verbs here and make sentences, that are relevant to you. Get the smartphone, turn the camera on, and record yourself saying those things, okay? So this would be my advice to someone who says that they are embarrassed, to speak. Okay. So notice that we have the same thing here twice. Okay. What about this one? I understand, but I can't speak. What do I have to do? Well, my friend, if you are one of these students, in other words, you understand, but you can't speak, well, it's because this is the skill that you're practicing less. You should practice more. You should speak more. So my advice to you is to do something like I just showed here a few seconds ago. You make notes about the series that you're watching and that you understand. You make notes about them. Okay, like these ones. Okay, so you make notes and then take a break, look at your notes and start speaking and start coming up with sentences and start speaking. One strategy that I advise my students to apply in their learning process is to talk to themselves, So in other words, you could create questions for yourself. So I could pretend that I'm talking to myself and then I look in the mirror and I say, okay, Alfredo, and you, how long have you been married? Oh, I've been married for 5 years. And how many times have you been to New York? Oh, I've been to New York 5 times. So in order to speak, learning how to speak requires you to speak. You can start speaking right away. Get your smartphone, turn the camera on, turn the microphone on, and start speaking and start recording your voice, recording yourself, and paying attention to what you're saying.